I want to start today's episode by reading you a definition of what we're going to be covering today. Body dysmorphia, also known as dysmorphic disorder or body dysmorphic disorder, BDD, mental health condition characterized by obsessive preoccupation with the perceived flaws or defects in one's mental and physical health and appearance. Individuals with body dysmorphia often experience distress and impairment in social, occupational, and other areas of functioning due to the concerns about their appearance. This disorder may lead to repetitive behaviors such as excessive grooming, seeking reassurance about one's appearance, or avoiding social situations altogether. The perception of these flaws is often exaggerated or even imagined, causing significant distress, impacting overall well-being. Today's episode is obviously about body dysmorphia, and today Coach Aaron and myself are looking to help you break through if you're an individual suffering with body dysmorphia. We can tell you that we've both been in the shoes before, we've both suffered with that, and to some degree still do. We're going to talk to you openly and candidly today about that. We also want you to think about this. Are you someone suffering from body dysmorphia? Do you have someone in your life, another man in your life who's suffering from body dysmorphia, and maybe they're suffering silently? Today's episode, you're going to want to share that with them. Make sure that they get a chance to listen to what we're going to cover today under body dysmorphia in today's episode of The Ultimate Man, episode number 11. Welcome to the show. I'm Coach Lalonde, and I'm here with my long-lost Diaz brother, Coach Aaron Jameson over there with the backwards hat today. Looking good, bro. I love it.
We're going gangster today. We're going a little bit gangster here. We're going out Diaz style. Let's get this party started here.
I love it.
Time
to. For everybody who knows us, we are MMA fans. Aaron spent a lot of time in the octagon. I've been a boxer for a long time and now coach. Both of us are coaches now. And Aaron, you've been doing some BJJ coaching recently. You've been down at the dojos, I guess, working. How's that going for you?
Oh, dude, it's so awesome. Yeah, I just started teaching. I stopped coaching for a long time, live classes and stuff in the BJJ, but I just started doing it again, working just with a handful of young bucks. And I even got a girl in there that's just a little beast herself. And it's super fun. I just love working with the guys that are so eager to learn, and they learn a couple new moves every day, and they get better at free rolling each time. And they're like, oh, it's just their confidence levels just starting to skyrocket. So it's really fulfilling for me to start doing that again.
That's super cool. I love that. You also mentioned to me in a conversation we had, there was a fella you used to work with or bounce with or something like that, or he was a bouncer. You ran into him. Was that at the gym? Was that like part of jiu-jitsu, or where'd that come about?
Oh, this is I was talking about one of my old friends that I used to work at one of the nightclubs with, and we were bouncers together. And then he also used to work at he used to be I used to have these fight nights, like Friday night fight nights, where I'd get some amateur fighters, and I had a cage at my old gym, and we'd put some matches together and stuff. And I'd have like a big audience come and charge a little gate admission and stuff. And he was like my doorman there too. So he's a good old buddy of mine that I was just talking with not too long ago.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool. And so in that conversation, he had said something to you that kind of triggered, I guess, our topic today. So I want to kind of hear about that. Like, did he say something straight up about body dysmorphia, or did he make a correlation that triggered where you thought about it like, oh shit, that's what he's dealing with?
Well, I think he just brought it up. There was a good subject that a lot of people really go through. Both himself and myself have both gone through it. I know that's a topic that a lot of guys really just maybe don't talk about themselves necessarily, but that they probably should open up about it a little bit and just be a little bit more aware of like what's going on with them, because it's so debilitating. I remember, I'll just bring it back to my own little personal story of like when I
Yeah.
was growing up. That's the whole reason I got into like, bodybuilding and everything initially, is because when I was a little kid, I was so self-conscious. I was a chubby little kid, and I had these little boy boobs. So they used to call me names. They used to call me Buddha boobs and Dolly Parton. If you know who Dolly Parton probably is, she had these big old boobs.
Yeah.
So I'm just a little tyke, and I'm going to like the public pool and stuff, and getting called these names even by some of my good friends at the time, were just making fun of me in fun. But
Mhm.
it fucking hurt. It just hurt my ego, and then
Yeah.
I didn't want to take my shirt off at the pool. And like you just said in the description of body dysmorphia here, just it really you start to avoid social situations altogether, because you don't want to be that chubby kid that has to go to the pool. You just don't feel good about yourself. so you just don't even go, and then you miss out on a lot of social activities in life. And that, that still happens to us when we're grown-ups too. So I think it's a really important topic that really needs to be discussed, and that's why we're here to talk about it.
Nice, nice. I love that you shared your story too. I'm picturing this young Aaron Jameson and carrying all the extra weight, not muscle yet, just kind of just carrying all that body fat. I was there too, man. In fact, my family, this is something they loved to do, and I guess in all good fun. They don't mean to hurt your feelings, like you said. Your buddies were poking fun, but in a playful way. My family would pull out photo albums of when I was a kid. I had two things about me. Number one, I was fat, way too fat for my size. And number two, I never wore clothes. And it was probably because they didn't have clothes that fit me. I was like literally outgrowing everything. So I was in almost every picture. I mean, we're talking like toddler, right? And I was big as a kid. So I'm in like, I don't even know what I am, maybe 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old in these pictures. I'm constantly like practically naked, maybe in some like, Mr. Brief underwears. And that's about it. And just rolls, man, more rolls than a bakery, like literally rolls upon rolls. And my man boobs around the back, and it was bad. But they'd pull these photo albums out when people would come over and be like, oh, look at Lawrence when he was little, like look how big he was. They almost like they were taking pride in how fat they had made me. And again, like I say, they had made me because it must have had to do with my diet. It must have had to do with my lack of activity. Those are things we see we can control, but at that time, I probably wasn't doing a lot of that. Then I found out later, my diet consisted of tons of processed stuff at that time. I was eating all kinds of processed foods. My dad, at that point, God rest his soul, was putting Coca-Cola. I don't know which point this was, like maybe 3 or 4 years old. I don't know what it was. But he's putting Coca-Cola in my baby bottle that I was drinking out of, so like a toddler bottle or whatever. It wasn't baby bottle, right? It wasn't that baby bottle, but I was in that toddler stage where I could say like pop, So I'd go to him and I'd be like pop, pop, and he would put it in my bottle and go, here you go. He'd give me a little bottle. And I'm literally sucking on Coca-Cola, 30 grams of sugar or whatever more, right? And so you get the rotten teeth, you get the overweight. I mean, it's just things like that, right? And again, like I said, it's parents have to take responsibility when it's for a kid like that. But then when the kid has a chance to start making their own choices, now we're talking to you, right? And I had to clean up my own act. It was no longer my parents' fault that I was obese. And this is where it brings us to conversations about how you feel. Like you said, you start to avoid situations. I didn't want to go to gym class at school. Because if we had to go and put on a uniform in school, I don't know where you went to school, but we had to put on like a white shirt and some red shorts to go to like high school gym class.
Yeah. Or play like shirt and skins. We used to have to play basketball in like middle school, and you'd be at either shirts or skins, and the guys had to take their shirts off. I was like, I don't want to be skins. No way.
Totally, mate. I actually just got triggered there of a feeling of fear when you said shirts or skins. I was like, oh
yeah.
When you said that word, like skins, actually just set off in me. It's so weird that we still hold on to those words, those triggers. But I felt that fear for a second, going, I don't want to be skins either, bro. And today, I would bet that most guys watching the podcast would say, well, fuck, you guys are in good shape. You don't have no reason to be, not want to take your shirt off. But we still have some old anchored attachments to the guy that we used to be or the kid we used to be. And we got to break those patterns. So we're not perfect. We're not saying that, that we have the ultimate, bodies at this point. We're just working daily on getting better and keeping in alignment with who we want to be, more so than who we were and who we suffered as. So if you're out there listening, we want you to know that we connect with that. We've been there, and we didn't want to be on team skins. That's for sure. Team shirt or even team sweater sounded good to me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I like that you pointed that out because sports was a big thing. I mean, we got into that, and boxing even. As I started out as a kid in the boxing gym, I didn't want to take off my shirt. We had to wear tank tops and stuff to go in the ring and things like that. It was never like pro boxing where you see them take their shirt off. Never felt comfortable with that. And to this day, it's kind of weird, but I'm going to fast forward all the way to where I am now. I still hold on to that some of that childhood, I'm guessing, of that overweight and getting, kind of teased and made fun of and bullied about being fat. And then also when I had gone through, that state of stopping boxing after my injury, losing that Olympic dream we talked about in episode 1. If you haven't seen episode 1, hear our stories, go back and watch that episode. After the suffering of depression and all those years before getting my body back on track, I was going through a really dark period there, and I was gaining so much weight. I was like 240 pounds. I still have that guy living around too. And I got to get rid of these guys, right? And try to reprogram that. So there's still some body dysmorphia that I'm going to suffer with too, especially around the areas where the body holds the fat the most. It's usually the first place it shows up is the last place to leave, right? And for me, that was around the midsection, around the love handles. I hate that area. It's soft. It's, gelatinous, I think is the word that Bedros uses in some of his podcasts and stuff. And he's like, he talks about
Yeah.
gelatinous titties. And I think it's a funny word, but it's kind of, you shouldn't be in that position if you can control it. And I think that we do have the option to control it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I just love that you talked about the shirts and skins because that really set me off there. I felt that. I got scared
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll just tell a little quick story about I'm doing this. I just got through with my winter bulk and I
Yeah.
was trying to bulk up. So I was taking my end of the winter bulk videos and pictures the other day because I want to monitor how I look now versus how I look in 12 weeks after we do our 12-week summer shred.
Mm.
So I took the videos of how, I put on like 20 pounds because I was trying to gain the weight. So that was a good thing. I put on a lot of muscle and stuff like that as well. But I was looking at my videos back and my results, and I'm like, oh my God, I was just like thinking how fat I look. And it's all comparative, right? Like you said, like a lot of guys might look at me and think, oh, you're in great shape. What are you talking about? Shut up. But
Mhm.
to myself, if I'm over like 15 or 20% now, then that's fat to me. I want to be down in like under 15 or 10 or somewhere in there in body fat percentages. So yeah, it's all a matter of perspective, but it really, you got to set a goal of what you want to look like and just work towards that and know that, if you're not happy with where you are right now, you can either change your mindset about how you feel about yourself or you can change your actual body appearance, and you need to figure out which one of those paths you want to take. But I'm getting excited now that we're getting ready to do this summer shred because I like being lean and going to the beach and feeling confident with my shirt off and stuff now. And I know I can make that happen in just a few months with some dedication. So I'm super stoked about it.
Beautiful. Yeah, man. I'm stoked too, and I'll tell you, I'm in alignment with the same timing as you. Over the last 3 months, I've been eating at a caloric maintenance to surplus. I've been purposely putting on some size, and I've managed to put on 3 pounds of muscle on the scale as far as body mass analysis. Now I've put on about 10 pounds in total weight, right? But 3 pounds of that showed up as lean muscle mass. A lot of it's going to be water retention and then body fat as well. Body fat did rise a little bit, but absolutely no fear of calories because I know what they're doing for me. I mean, I felt great. Like I felt great amounts of energy, and it's kind of the reverse diet. Like don't suffer and cut the calories. It's like literally surplus the calories. Give yourself an abundance and your body will grow in abundance, right? You'll spend more because you have more. I always think like a bank account analogy. If you're given more money, they're more likely to spend. If you take money away, they're more likely to tighten up the budget, right? I can't afford to spend. And that's what your body's doing too when you bring in the food. So today's nutrition talk is kind of into this body dysmorphia talk, because we're now going to head into where Aaron and I have both just finished what we'd call bulking out, or adding calories at maintenance or surplus. And any idea what calorie give or take roughly you were, Coach, as far as your like what you were bringing in for, was it maintenance or surplus? Were you around 3,000, 4,000? Like how many calories were you having?
I'm now that I'm doing my cut, I'm going to start tracking. When I was doing my bulk, honestly, I was not really tracking. I was just trying to consume as much as I could possibly. But if I had to ballpark it, it would probably be around like 4,000 because I was
Mhm.
definitely in a surplus.
Yeah.
And now that I'm going into a cut, I'm probably going to start off around 2,500 or thereabouts.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
25 to 3. So I'm going to drop it by like 1,000 from where I was probably.
That's right. And that's great advice. And we're going to guide any of the guys who are coming on this journey with us on how to do that properly. I'm about to do the same thing and make the calorie reduction. I know I was at about 2,700 calories to 3,000 when I was doing my we'll call it maintenance to. I would say it was closer to maintenance than it was surplus for me. Surplus. And again, it's really relative to not only your body size, but your activity levels as well. I'm going to say on the lesser side of workouts. I've only done some small workouts daily kind of thing versus big workouts on a regular basis, which is where I want to go now. I want to get back into the groove and go, back into the bigger workouts. I want to put the time in and really give my body what it deserves. I want to shred it up, and it's going to take some effort outside the comfort zone, but that's where growth takes place, right? So I think with the whole body dysmorphia, bringing it back, we're about to change the way we look and feel and see ourselves. in the summer shred program that we're about to do. And I'm totally stoked about that because yes, we're going to drop some of that body fat that we did put on. We're going to really show off what we built, which is the whole purpose of the bodybuilding transformation, right? And again, the magazines glorified it to the extreme. And I think that's dangerous for most people to think that you're going to get all, vascular to the point where every vein is showing and you're jacked and ripped and everything else. But to be ripped, and like Aaron was saying, 10% to 15%, you look damn good at that range. You know what I mean? If you got good muscle mass underneath, and that's really sustainable. Anything below that in the single digit is so unsustainable for most people that you're going to spend a short period there and then you're going to lose it all and then feel bad about yourself. And that leads back to bad body dysmorphia again, your relationship with how you look in the mirror. So I love that you said something about the beach. I think that's probably the place that triggers me the most. When I go to the beach, I look around and I see most of the guys there are, and I shouldn't say most, I don't even know anymore because I haven't gone in a long time. But when I was at the beach, most of the guys were out of shape. The population mostly I would say more on the side of out of shape and overweight than there were guys who looked fit and lean. And that being said, I still felt like the 240-pound fat guy who didn't want to take his shirt off. And I was probably one of the better physique, looking guys there as far as the shape I was in. And so you're still holding that I don't know what it is, like a comparison, I guess. You're looking at those guys saying, I'm way better than they are as far as what I see, but I still don't want to take my shirt off. And that's a weird feeling. But again, I think that's part of the dysmorphia, the mental relationship with what you see. So you said it really well, Coach, when you're saying other people might look at you and say, oh, dude, what are you saying, dude? You look great. Stop bitching, right? But you look in the mirror and you still see those imperfections in those areas. Is there a specific area for you? For me, it's the waistline, the love handles, the lower back. What about it for you? Is there any specific area you look at?
Definitely the man boobs, probably going back to like when I was a kid, because that's what I used to get teased about was the man boobs. So I was always self-conscious about that. So like
Okay.
now I have a lot of pectoral muscle, but at the same time, when I did my bulk, there was a little bit of a fat layer on top of there too. So they're just not as toned as I want them to be. So like, and I know that's a big problem for like the love handles and the man boobs for the majority of guys that I talk to. That's like their thing that they want to get rid of. In fact, I was just at the gym the other day and this young kid was working out how do I get rid of the man boobs, man. So I gave him some tips on diets and stuff like that and training.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, definitely want to tighten the pecs back up.
That's awesome. Now, when I talk with clients, one of the things that they don't do, and I find it's one of the most valuable things you need to do, is take a photo, an actual before photo, or like you need some sort of a start point that you can visually look at. Have you been one for taking photos, or have you avoided them?
No, I love taking photos. Yeah, because it's so cool to, especially if you're doing something like a 12-week transformation, to be able to see like, week 1 through week 2, 3, and then all the way through all 12 weeks, and you can put them all back to back and you can actually see the transformation. It's really powerful. And then you just know whether you're doing it right or you're not, because if you're 3 or 4 weeks into your program and you're still taking pictures and you don't see any progress, you're probably not doing something right and you need to tweak your program a little bit. So it really is it keeps you honest. It's a real gauge like that.
Yeah, I love that. And there's no emotion attached to the photo. Like as far as a photo doesn't have a feeling. It's only how you feel about looking at it. So the photo is kind of a true data collection of progress. You look at it and you say, you can't deny what you see. It's there, right? And if you've lost weight in the man boobs, you're going to see it. It's going to be there, right? Where you might look in the mirror and in real time go, no, I'm not seeing any change. But you take the photo and you put it up against the last one and you go, oh shit, right? That's when it clicks. It's not the picture now. It's the picture in comparison to the one you just took last week or last month or whatever. So you've got to have a freaking start point that you can take, a look back on to see how far you've come. That's really where you see the distance you've traveled, right? It's like running a race. If you're running full speed right now and you go, how far am I? Like if you don't have a start line, you don't know how far you've been running, how long you've been running. Like there's no measurement. You got to start with a picture. Also, the old tape measure, running a tape measure, circumference measurements. That's another big way to give yourself some data collection. And I think that's important because the tape doesn't lie. It's going to show you whether there's an inch or a half an inch of change. And again, you might look in the mirror and be beating yourself up, going, well, I don't think my chest has changed. And this is what I'm working on. This is what I really want to change. It's not working. And you start to think that the system's not working. And then you overthink the whole thing, when really the tape measure could tell you that there's been a quarter inch of change. And it's like, well, you can't argue that no matter how you feel. It's not about how you feel. The data is showing us progression. Right. So I think that's a valuable piece as well. Are there any particular tools you use to kind of get the start point documented? Photo?
That's that's pretty much it. Videos, pictures, body fat analysis, obviously scale weight, and then the circumference measurements. I put 2 inches on my chest in this bulk
Nice.
during the last few months. I was super stoked about it. At first I was like, I don't think I'm putting on any size. And then I was like, and then people started noticing, like, you're definitely getting a little bit bigger, bro. And then
Yeah.
I measured myself just this last week for my final measurement. And I'm like, oh, damn, I did. I put on like 2 inches on my chest. I'm like, yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Not easy to do, man. It takes consistency, it takes hard work, and it takes nutrition. And I love that you gave nutrition advice at the gym to that young guy as well, because there's a lot of guys out there inexperienced who would say, "Oh, bro, you want to get a big chest? Let me show you 5 different exercises you can do for your chest." And they're trying to like almost spot reduce or spot create. And I don't believe that either of those are possible without good nutrition in place. You know what I mean? Like you can work your ass off on chest. Some people are like, well, if I want to try and transform my chest, I'm just going to hit chest every day, all day, sets after sets. And it just leads to a massive amount of failure, such devastation. And they're not getting growth. They're actually seeing decline in energy, decline in progress. And it's like, this is just building worse body dysmorphia because now you believe all the effort you put in led to an even worse look. Now you hate it even more, right? So I love to start with measurements and, to have a start point because now, if I said to you, "Hey, Coach Aaron, look in the mirror and see what you see," and if you had no data, you'd look in and go, like you said, "I don't think much has changed. I don't know. Haven't made much progress." And I said to you, "Well, the tape shows you've gained 2 inches on your chest, bro." You're like, "Okay, now go look in the mirror." You go back and look and go, "Oh yeah, yeah, there they are, right?" And it's like,
Yeah.
what changed? Nothing changed except the information you have going into that view. When you go back to the mirror, you know that there's 2 inches now that are there that weren't there before. So you go looking for them, right? You have evidence. And that's that. Remember, we talk about fear being false evidence appearing real. Well, the tape measure is real. It's not false evidence anymore. Now you have a reality and you're going looking for that reality. So I think that that's the most powerful part of, when you do the mirror image thing, it's you need some data to know what you're really looking at because our perception is we're going to go back to the old fat kid. We're going to go back to the 240-pound overweight, depressed guy. If you've been there or someone told you were that, you're going to have those things. They're like triggers and anchors, right? So you got to make sure that those don't show up by having proof that they don't exist. And that's going to be your photo and your measurement, and your progress tracking. And so never be afraid of a photo, guys. Take the damn photo, stand there, get in your underwear or your shorts or whatever you need and take the photo. Take the front, take the back, take the side, look at every angle so you can see some progress. And that's what's going to tell the truth rather than your perception and your emotional part. I think that's really important information to get started because point number one in this whole thing was navigating the journey. We want to talk about, the navigating is you have to actually identify the signs of body dysmorphia. And if you're constantly checking your reflection in the mirror or you're fixated on the minor imperfections, like I talked about, the love handles and Aaron's saying that, the man boobs, the chest, we have to, make sure that we're not getting stressed out by looking at those things. And I think that the actual answer is to have data so that we can see the truth rather than see this skewed vision that we have of maybe old perceptions that people put in our head or things we created with bad lifestyle habits in the past. What do you think, Coach? Are we on board with the navigating of recognizing the triggers?
Yeah, 100%. And last point, that's just a little bit of a tangent, but one of the things that I really like is just seeing that little bit of progress too. If it was like you don't have to be super excited about where you're at right now. If you're not happy with your body image, I get it. Maybe you don't look good, you don't feel good. That's understandable if you kind of let yourself go a little bit. But even just the process of starting the journey to get back in shape again and knowing that you're making a little bit of progress and heading in the right direction is just that little bit of enough to like change your mindset and just and make you happy about the journey of the process of becoming better. So it's like you don't have to like see your end goal of this like ideal specimen of a version of you. You know, you don't have to be there tomorrow to feeling happy about your progress. You just have to do a little bit more today and tomorrow and see that little bit of progress over this next week and know you're heading in the right direction. And it's enough to really shift your mindset like right away.
Mm, nice. Yep, you got it. Little shifts to move you in the right direction. Love that. And one of the things that was in the definition of body dysmorphia was excessive grooming. And I thought about that and I was like, people get to the point where it's all about physical appearance, but body dysmorphia can also be the feeling aspect. Like, I think that thoughts become things. And the more we think something, the more we start to see it as reality. And I think the thoughts are created by the feelings that we have, or maybe they come from off of each other. But if I'm literally thinking looking in the mirror and I don't like what I see in there, I start to create a feeling of depression. I create a feeling of lack of energy. I'm not hungry. I just feel like, and you lose a lot of purpose in that. And it could have started by brushing your teeth. It could have started by combing your hair. It could have started by having a shower, washing, and changing your physiology so you start to feel better. And now those are not really major aesthetic changers. I'm not going to take my picture and go, oh, these love handles are so bad. I just need to lose this weight. And I go brush my teeth and, oh, my love handles look great. That's not what it is, right? What I'm talking about is the feeling. If I go back to look in there after telling Coach Aaron, hey, you gained 2 inches on your chest, his feeling just changed before going to even look in the mirror. The state is like, I'm going in to look for that feeling. I feel good. I'm looking for the positive. And so the little gain, just that small daily practice can change. And I love that you said start small. It doesn't have to be like your first workout might be body weight. It could be your first go at getting back into it. You don't want to overdo it and be so sore you can't work out again. So you start small, but a sense of accomplishment will lead you to such a good state of feeling that you're actually feeling better than you look, right? You didn't change much in the way you look after one workout. So you go to the mirror, and if all you went based on was the visual, you'd be beating yourself up. You'd be like, well, fuck, I did the workout. I don't feel like I look any better. This isn't working. But do you feel better? Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I've got more energy. I feel like I definitely feel good pumped. I know you made a compliment to me in one of my pictures. I had some weights up in my hand. You're like, dude, your arms look jacked. And I'm like, that's great. I love that feeling of you telling me that, right? That's reinforcement. But at the same time, if I don't hold the weights and I'm not doing that workout and I just look at my arm today at rest, I might go, oh, my arms aren't that great, dude. They're not that big. They're not that ripped. They're not that jacked. But that picture said something about it, right? The picture showed like, well, I don't know, man. They looked like they were. So there's a lot of social media misconception too with the way people can stage what we call the highlight reel. So let's talk about that a little bit. Because in number 2, break the cycle is what I talk about with the body dysmorphia topic. I want to get into how can we help guys actually break out of once you've identified those triggers. And replacing self-criticism with self-compassion. We talked about flipping the switch a long time ago in one of our other episodes, where taking self-talk that's negative, turning it into positive self-talk, making sure that you're saying positive things to yourself. And a lot of people are like, I can do that. I can start saying better things to myself. And other people believe that to be hocus pocus. They're like, I can talk to myself all I want. I don't look any better. I don't feel any better, right? So we need to find not just the things you can do for practicing gratitude and self-compassion, but actually setting goals and feeling like you're accomplishing something specific. And I know you just watched an interview with Volkanovski, I believe. Tell us about that. What did you see?
Yeah, so Alexander the Great Volkanovski's got a fight coming up here soon, and I'm so excited. It's gonna be a freaking phenomenal fight, dude. But I was watching this episode with him. He was getting interviewed. He had some struggles before his last fight with Islam. He was kind of like he was just out of the groove. He kind of like, was not training as hard as he usually was, and he started even just drinking a little bit and just kind of enjoying himself a little too much, and just not being his usual like disciplined self, basically. And he's like he just needed something to like snap him out of that mindset of just kind of slacking. I think I think a lot of fighters like ourselves or guys can relate to this. It's like it's really important, I think, that you have some type of thing looming. Like there's a fight, you have a fight date scheduled, you have an opponent you're getting ready for. Like that's going to give you the motivation to get your ass up and start training hard and stuff again. So that's kind of what he was going into, saying that like he needed this fight with Islam, even though he took it on short notice, because it gave him the kick in the butt to like start getting back into the gym and stop drinking as much like he was. So yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's just really important for guys to realize that, and a lot of guys aren't implementing that in their fitness regimen. They're doing the same thing. They don't have like a set specific date. They don't have like an opponent in mind. They don't have a specific transformation they're trying to achieve. So I think
Yeah.
that's really crucial. That's what I really love about our summer shred coming up is like we've got a specific start date. We're going to do it for 12 weeks. We're going to do it as a team. Like there's this competitive aspect of it. Like, I'm going to try to beat your butt and
That's
get as
it.
ripped as I can, and you're going to do the same. And we're going to have like competitions and stuff. So it adds that much more fun to it. So yeah, if you're a guy out there that just maybe you've been off track for a little bit, maybe you need to give yourself that new opponent, that new fight, that new looming date coming up that's going to get your ass off the couch and really make you do that extra work.
No, that's good. I love it. Gets me excited just hearing about it because we're talking about, in my opinion, a training camp, a set duration towards the end result. The end result was Volkanovski having an opponent, a fight coming up. Then he had to go into training camp. Didn't leave himself much time though. He took it on short notice. And how many weeks was his training camp? Did you hear about that? Was it like 3 weeks? Something
It
really
was just something short, 2 or 3. It was ridiculous. Yeah.
yeah, like so imagine you're going to go and try and transform your body from like drinking alcohol and whatever he was doing in his lifestyle, partying and living the life, right? To I'm going to fight at the championship highest level in a weight class above myself,
Yeah.
and challenge outside the comfort zone to the max, and I'm going to do it on 3 weeks training camp. Like, come on, right? That's a lot for anyone to bite off. And I mean, Volk's one of the best in the world, but there's just, there's a level to the game that you have to have put the time into in the training camp to prepare for that level, the timing and just there's so much of it. So we've both been there, but what we're doing is we're going to give ourselves 12 weeks. That's a nice long duration to be able to really hone in on what's going good, what's not working, make the tweaks necessary to keep learning and keep evolving. And at the end of 12 weeks, the transformation will be the best that it's going to be in that particular period. Now, if it goes longer, we might have to do something different. We can't stay in the shred modality. We would change that modality. But why not do the 12 weeks and then enjoy the shit out of that while we look amazing? And, now you get that feeling that it aligns with what the work is that you've put in. I always say, like winning the lottery, most of the people who've never earned it can't keep the money. So it's very hard to do that because they've never earned it along the way to understand what it takes to be the person who has that kind of money. So they lose it. People who are just gifted in weight loss, like say they go get a stomach tuck, one of those tummy tucks or those gastro bypass surgeries. I've had a few clients who've done that. They've come in and said, well, now my stomach's this big. I can only eat this small amount. And, it feels great because I look in the mirror and I put a clothes on or whatever, and I've lost 150 pounds today, right? And it's like, you see them 3 years later, they've gained all that weight back. They've stretched the stomach back out. They've lost the ability to stay in it because they never actually earned it through regular habits and practices. They never became the person. So during the training camp, it's most important that you become the person who's earning those results. And then by the end of 12 weeks, you're just getting started on an amazing journey, but damn, you look good for what you've done, right? So I can't wait to see what you look like, Coach. I can't wait to see what I look like. We're going to take some photos to see how that's going to be. And for the guys who are joining us on this, we need to make sure you get started right. So you're going to want to click the links to get in on things that we put in the forums for you and things we put in the show notes so you can get access to what we're talking about. But I also want to bring in this comparison. I mentioned the social media aspect. A lot of people put up what I call the highlight reel. It's the best of what they're going through, and we compare ourselves to that. So if you looked at a picture of, let's just say, the most latest influencer who's, have you got any off the top of your head, someone you've been following that kind of sets off that influencer trigger?
Yeah, yeah, totally. So I watched this guy is probably a lot of guys probably do now. He's freaking huge. Sam Sulik. All right. So Sam's like this 21-year-old kid that's just jacked out of his mind, probably juiced out of his mind as well. Not probably, he most definitely is.
Right.
But but it's just I mean, he's got a phenomenal physique. He eats like shit though. His diet is just horrendous. So I'm not in alignment with that. Like when I first started looking at him, it's inspiring because I was always just drawn to bodybuilding and I wanted to be jacked and stuff. So I started like getting back into bodybuilding a little bit more, and watching him was kind of cool. But then on the same aspect of that, the things that he puts himself through is not necessary, especially if you're like an over 40, over 50-year-old guy like I am. You can't be doing that intense type of workouts that he's doing on a daily basis. You're going to tax your central nervous system. Your joints are going to be all jacked up and hurting. You need to take a very different approach. So it's easy to look at and take the inspiration from those guys and be like, oh, he's training hard every day. That's a good thing, right? But then look at the realistic nature of things, and assess that you're not probably 21 years old if you're watching us. And you probably don't want to have a shitty diet that's just high in calories, that's eating tons of cereal and donuts just to put on weight, because it's going to be fat weight if you're not on a bunch of anabolics and crap that's turning it into straight muscle. So it's an unrealistic expectation. So be very careful about who you watch. And if you are going to watch people like that, just realize that you're not them. You don't have their freaking genetics. You're not taking the pharmaceuticals that they're probably taking. And you need to treat your body a little bit more healthy, because our journey and mission and purpose is to teach guys how to live a healthy life with some longevity.
Damn, well said. How do you think Sam Sulek's going to look when he's 50?
Ooh, dude, I would not be happy being in his body. Most likely, I wish the best for him, obviously, but God, man, he's just gonna be ripping. As heavy as he goes with his weights and stuff, his joints are gonna be jacked up. I know my joints are jacked up, and
Mm.
I wasn't lifting nearly the amount of weight that he is now. Um, but yeah, and just not only that, from like I mean, internally his joints, his ligaments, his connective tissue is going to be jacked up probably, especially because of all the anabolics and stuff he's doing. That's probably decreasing his joint, health to some degree. And
Mhm.
then on top of that, his diet. I mean, just outwardly he looks great for the moment, but just think about what he's doing to his pancreas and all of his internal organs and his heart and his kidneys and his liver that has to deal with all the bullshit and all the extra calories and processed shit that he's putting in there. It's not a good thing.
Oh, totally. And so if we're picturing this, if you had to make an estimate of what he's going to look like 50, at 50 years old, it sounds like you're figuring he's going to be pretty broken by 50. Do you think he'll still be jacked muscularly? I'm obviously there. If he is on supplementation, like, steroids or whatever it is, if he doesn't keep up with that, obviously he's going to lose a lot of what is there. But do you think that he'll still be relatively muscular at 50, or will that start to diminish as well if he's not keeping up with that type of lifestyle? Like, cycle wise, I don't understand a whole lot about that cycle world. I don't know it very well. So, what are your thoughts on how he might look at 50? Not just broken, but physically. Is the juice worth the squeeze?
Right, right, yeah. Chael Sonnen's that's one of his sayings. He says the squeeze worth the juice or something like that. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that saying.
Yeah.
Um, he's got to be very careful about how he structures things. And I think, if he wants to get away with it while he's young and resilient for a couple years and try to go pro and go Mr. Olympia or something and do it while he's in his 20s, um, hopefully he might be able to do that. But then he's really needs to get his shit together once, by the time he hits like 30s, and he needs to cut way back on the amount of stuff he's doing and get his diet on track if he wants to have that longevity. Otherwise, at 50, he will definitely be freaking broken if he keeps on
Yeah.
the same trajectory he's on now, for sure.
Right. And yet, so that's great. And so now you're talking about seeing this guy on social media everywhere. He looks pretty damn good, though. Like, physically,
Yeah.
aesthetically, looks amazing, right? And so a lot of young guys out there watching our podcast may also know who we're talking about, or you're going to look him up now that we've dropped the name, right? And you're going to go look at it, and you're going to see what Coach Aaron said, because now we talked about the preconceived, what we've put in your head. We want you to look at what he's doing. Not only does he look good, but we're also seeing a pattern of breakdown and poor lifestyle to get to where he's at. We're talking about, Coach Aaron, you said poor diet. Was one of the things right away. He's eating absolute garbage to try to enhance the size factor by getting the calories out of the roof, right? Just maximum calories. And again, there's benefit to having calories, but there's also more benefit to having good, clean, whole calories versus just pounding junk food for the sake of more caloric intake. So we want to make sure that you understand that we're trying to help guys here get it done right. And you can still look at guys like that and see their photos, which look amazing, but also understand that their lifestyle that they're actually doing may not be the best road to take to get there. Because there's multiple ways to get there, right? And knowing obviously where we're at right now, both of us over 40 years old, and we both feel like we look pretty good for where we're at right now, confident with the work we've put in, and we want to look better. So we're going to do a summer shred. We're going to lean it out and go through a mode, and then we're going to take some pictures. But what will we post on Instagram? What will we post on social media that you might see? Now, do you think that Coach Aaron and I are going to give you the most worst of our outtakes when we take our pictures, or do you think we're going to give you the best one that looks like we're really making the most progress? This is what I see on social media. If Coach Aaron takes a picture and caught it, the picture's taken at the time where he breathed out, let's say, and his belly protrudes on the breath out on the exhale, he's going to go, oh, I'm not posting that picture, right? Or he takes the picture and then notices, oh shit, there's a piece of kale in his teeth. Didn't realize that was there, right? And he goes, oh, I'm not posting that picture. What picture will he post? He's going to post the one that looks absolutely perfect. Sometimes, and I'm not saying that we're doing this, but sometimes people will go so far as to even put a filter on there, something that fixes the lighting in the room, makes it look real, real professional, real nice. And what we're trying to say here is that when you go across social media, you may be scrolling through the most damaging body dysmorphia, generator that you're ever going to come across. Social media has done a lot of good things for the world, but I think it's really damaged mental health of people when it comes to body comparison. Do you get any negative feelings when you look at the Sam Sulek photos? Do you feel any kind of comparison when you do, Coach, or is it how do you feel about it when you look at it? Do you feel small?
Yeah, well, I don't feel small, but I definitely realize that I am small in comparison. If I were to like realistically compare, like I've been working on my legs a lot lately because I want to have bigger legs, and he's got like these humongous fucking legs, and I'm like, damn, I wish I had some legs like that. But at the same time, I've got a little bit of a bad back and a little bit of a bad neck.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna put 6 plates on either side and do some like deep squats till absolute failure. So I'm not willing to go to those means by any means.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of a comparison of like, I wish I could put a little more size on my legs, but I have put an inch on my legs in my winter bulk, so I'm at least heading in that direction.
There you go.
But I'm cognizant of the fact that I'm doing so, safely in regards to my own personal age limitations.
Yeah. That's really good. And again, people who are listening, when we're talking about your injuries that you've talked about, it's not that you've done improper training or you've been ridiculous with what you've done and you've injured yourself. They have to understand the majority of those injuries, I believe, came from your MMA days in like full combat competitions and things like that, right? Because as we've learned to avoid potholes, we know what not to put in our programs. What is the most dangerous? Lifting 7 plates across for ego is not going to do it anymore, or 6 plates across. You know what I mean? You know how to do it smart now. But when you were in your MMA career, was that where most of the injuries were sustained? The neck, the back, things like that?
Big time, yeah. Especially the neck. The neck's the worst for myself. I had some MRIs done not too long ago, and there's like, man, I'll have to read it on one of the episodes. It's just like a horror story of like severe stenosis or whatever their terminology is for it, all the
Yeah.
technical shit. But it's pretty ugly. But I would say that's a really good point that I brought back to my class in jujitsu the other day of all the young guys that are training. I'm very really, telling people to be super careful when they're doing their guillotines and their triangle chokes. Because one of the mistakes that I made, because I was coaching my own fight team of young and up and comers, but I would let them put me in a guillotine choke just to make sure that they were doing it correctly, right? And I would like make them tap me out until I was the point that I had to tap out. But I was putting myself in that position intentionally multiple times per class for frickin' years on end. And I was just getting my neck cranked on, which was not the smartest move. So if you are, in training in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu or something, and don't just allow someone to put you in a frickin' guillotine and crank away on you and just, keep going, tap me out, bro, tap me out. Like don't take it to that far. Make them work for it, but don't get that repetitive, cranking on your neck. It's gonna lead to some major joint damage later down the road. And trust me, you don't want it.
That's good advice for all the jiu-jitsu practitioners who are watching our show, listening to it, and who want to be the good coach who's trying to give everybody that sense of accomplishment. I know I did it in boxing as well. A lot of times sparring with, I want to say, lesser opponents, the opponents who were up and coming, and trying to build their confidence for them. A lot of times you would kind of keep your guard open a little bit, let them land shots just so they could feel the satisfaction of like, that worked. And I took a lot of unnecessary shots, and my coaches would always get on me for that, saying, stop letting them hit you. Like, you know better, right? And I'm like, I'm trying to give them, he's just a kid, he's just trying to give him some confidence here, right? And what I didn't realize I was doing was it was at the cost of my body, my expense. Right? I was taking a lot of unnecessary punishment. I'd come out with bloody noses and, all kinds of craziness, black eyes and things. And it was because I was allowing I was trying to do something good for someone, but at my expense. So what we're saying is don't do that. Now, I know what you're talking about when you said your list of injuries as well. I watched around Christmas time, I think it was, and maybe it wasn't Christmas, but you had made the 12 Days of Christmas nursery rhyme list. It was like, 12 of this, 11 of this, 5 of this, and a partridge in a pear tree. So maybe our Christmas episode that's coming here, Aaron can list off all of his injuries that he suffered along the way.
Yeah.
It was pretty comical, but it's very real for you, isn't it?
Yeah. 5 busted ribs, 4 busted toes, 3 broken nose, 2 hip replacements, 1 whatever it was, and a partridge in a motherfucking pear tree. That's me.
I totally remember that. It stood out to me. I was like, I like this guy. This was when I first met you too. I was watching your Instagrams and things like that. And I was like, this guy's so real, man. He's been through the grind and he knows what he's doing, and he's obviously overcome. And like I said, and we're bringing it back to the fact that we're both over 40 years old here. A lot of the guys listening to our podcast are most likely in the 30 to 50 range. Maybe you're an ex-fighter who's coming back, trying to get in the game. Maybe you're just an individual who was first time through trying to get in shape for the first time. Maybe you were in really good shape and you just fell out due to life and habits and routines. We're trying to, make sure all of you hear the message. Body dysmorphia can happen to any of us. Injuries can happen to any of us. It's how we come back, how we frame it, how we see it, how we track it, and how we move forward, learning to get overcome it. And that's why we believe the 12-week training camp is what is really best. And our next training camp is going to be the Summer Shred. We really want to make sure that anyone listening to this, if it's a man and you want in on it, you got to get in on the Summer Shred. If you're a woman listening to our podcast, which we have a lot of women listening to the podcast, if you know a man in your life who needs this, make sure that they at least find out more about the Summer Shred, because that might be exactly what they need to get in on. Okay, so that being said, breaking the cycle in point 2 was
hold on, wait, I got to give a plug for the Summer Shred right there. That's okay. a great So if you're interested in the Summer Shred, we're starting on March 1st, and you can just simply go to the description and the show notes here in YouTube or Spotify or wherever you're watching this, and we've got a link in there to join our Ultimate Man Academy, where we've got our fighters forum, and we're going to put people through the Summer Shred in there. So go to the link, you get free access. We're doing a free trial right now in the Ultimate Man program. Jump in there, see what it's all about, take a little look around, hang out for a little bit, and then, like I said, March 1st, we're going to rock and roll. So if you want to get shredded with us for summer, let's do it.
Yeah, nice. That's exciting, man. I love it. And so building the support system was number 3, and that leads right into it. It's perfect, because building a support system is building a community. A lot of guys try to go it alone. They do well out of the gate because maybe they're motivated. They find an inspiration. They had a health marker. The doctor told them, dude, you're going to suffer another heart attack if you don't fix it. They get motivated for a month. They try it alone, and then they fall back off into old patterns and old beliefs. And, this isn't for me. I can't do it. We start to set ourselves up for failure. But when you have an environment of people encouraging you and challenging you, I think that changes the game. It's the same thing we've always experienced in MMA and in boxing, the world of team and community. Men need that in their life. It sucks being a lone wolf, right? Wolves travel in a pack, right? They're at their strongest when they're in a pack. Now, the pack you surround yourself with is something you got to be careful for. And I think that's really important. And you want to be a lone wolf, go ahead, but it's very difficult to survive that way. But when you choose your pack, don't just choose it because it makes you the head wolf. And here's what I'm saying. If Coach Aaron and I, we kind of talked about this before the episode as well. If we got in a room where the two of us, as experts in this industry with over 30 years experience, got in with some of the top leaders in the world right now, the highest influencers, and the ones who are really making it happen, moving the needle big time in the industry, to where we admire these people. We want to be there. Aaron and I might feel like, man, do we even belong in this room? Bit of imposter syndrome. And we might feel a bit of a physiological body dysmorphia of a sense, but also on like a business front, a lot of ways we would judge ourselves in that room. But the reality is that room is the best place we could be. Even if we feel like, dude, I don't deserve to be here. I need to go get good before I get in that room. You know, how many people say that? I'll join the gym after I lose 30 pounds. I need to get some weight off first. That's why you join the gym, is to go and to lose the weight, right? You got to get in the environment and accelerate the process with people who are already there. So as much as we might feel uncomfortable sitting in that room with some of our favorite inspirations out there, you know, and they're out there talking and presenting, and they say, you know, Coach Aaron and Coach Lawrence, do you want to get up here and say a few words? We'd be like, no, I don't belong here, right? It's like that really awful feeling of like, oh man, I'm just lucky to be in this room. I'm just going to take notes for now. But they can elevate our game for us and give us 12 weeks with them. And I bet the two of us are standing at the front of that room with confidence and saying, you know, we want to share our piece of experience. And I'm totally stoked to be aligned with these guys. Right? We elevated because we got in the right room. Now, what would happen if the two of us went and showed up in a room where nobody knew anything? We were absolutely the experts. We would feel amazing from day one. We wouldn't learn anything. We would just teach, right? And again, teaching's great, but all we're doing is surrounding ourselves with certainty, no opportunity for growth, no opportunity for improvement. And so I think that obviously which of those two rooms is better for us, the one we can grow in, the one we can get better in. And even if we feel a bit of an imposter syndrome now, we still need to take that step and go sit our asses in the chairs in that room versus constantly spending our time surrounded by people who make us look better. And I think that's part of the reason people choose friend circles. And so I'm going to go diving into this, but Coach, what are your feedback thoughts on that right now? Were you excited about standing up in front of the room with all of our inspirations?
No, it's scary as hell, right? It's scary as hell. You're like, I'm not at that level to be like, spitting out the information of the game that these guys are. So, but I think it is a good balance of like being able to surround yourself with that upper echelon of people that are a level above you and be able to learn from them. And then, you can maybe go back, like I'll just give an example of like, training at the Jiu-Jitsu Academy. So like, for instance, I would go down and I would train at like one of the best fight academies here in Northern California. And I would learn from the big dogs down there and I would get my ass whooped and stuff like that. But then I would take it, back home to my little small town up here. And then I would teach my up and comers that were just learning in the game. So like I was the big man on campus and the big fish in a small pond up here, which was good because it strokes your ego a little bit, but you're getting to teach exactly what you learned from the big dogs that you were surrounding yourself with. So go learn from the big dogs and then teach to the people that are just a level below you. And then you're kind of getting the best of both worlds too, I think.
That's good framework right there. I like that because again, you're talking about bringing it back, giving gratitude for what you've learned, and then contributing back to society by teaching the next generation. And that's what makes us excited about being coaches. And I think that's very good that you mentioned that. But living there permanently and not having the opportunity to get growth. So that's kind of where I was going with it is I think a lot of people choose the comfort level and surround themselves with a community of individuals who are lesser than they are so that they feel like it elevates them. And so they automatically become the best looking one in the group. They become the most fit looking one in the group. They become the smartest one in the group. And I've heard some different expressions around there and they're saying if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Right. And yeah. It's like, because you gotta look for those opportunities to learn. So what I'm saying is in a training camp, if you go in there as the top guy and you're in there not learning anything, you're not going to get a lot out of it. But when you go into it with a learning mindset, you can take on, even if you are the top guy and you're willing to listen and learn still, not have a big ego about it, you can still get a lot of information and growth out of that too. Because you grow not just in physical ways, but you can grow in mental and emotional ways as well. I think there's a lot of things to be learned from high achieving individuals. So we talked about building support system. We talked about the free forum opportunity that we've given out here. I think that's super badass. We are looking forward to connecting with more of you guys listening to the show right now. And make sure I turn these notifications off. There we go. And surrounding yourself with positive influences and friend circles. And it reminds me of my childhood when I was thinking about, the gym class stuff. Everybody kind of formed their little cliques, right? And then the boxing club, same thing, cliques. And I'm sure the MMA world was the same. You go to the gym, there's like 5 guys who surround themselves with just them and nobody else in that circle, and it was like,
Yeah.
it was the cool crowd, right? And I think that a lot of times those crowds there's always that one guy who leads the crowd. There's always a leader in that group. And he's the big fish in the small pond in that little, because they keep the pond small and so that they really stand out. And so I want to make sure that people who are listening to this, if you're a guy who surrounds yourself with 5 other dudes who drink beer on a regular basis every night after work, there's, smoking drugs and barely working. I mean, maybe they're even on assistance programs and stuff. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those things in moderations, because I've seen people succeed still doing those types of things. But I'm talking about the ones who live it, breathe it, that's their life. They have no ambition to do anything. You're going to become the 6th one in that circle, no matter how good you think you are. And obviously they make you look real good. You got a job, you're keeping it fairly clean. Maybe you have 1 or 2 beers, but at the end of the day, you feel really, really good. You're the big fish in that little pond, but those are only going to bring you down. They're going to pull you back. And so what we're trying to say is surround yourself with better people who are on a mission to succeed, to be wherever you want to be, because it's really up to you. I don't give a shit. Right? If you don't want to do better for yourself, keep surrounded by those types of people. It's up to you. But obviously, Aaron and I want to give a shit. We want to care. We want to bring you to where you're gonna, where you're gonna excel. And I know that over a 12-week camp, we're gonna make that happen. I'm excited for that. So the friend circle is a big one. Boosting it out and considering, if someone obviously needed a bigger circle than even just something like that, get professional help. If you're really struggling, you're a loner, locked lone wolf in the basement, and just, in the darkness all the time, and you're suffering from massive amounts of depression, then we say go get professional help, because that's where you need to begin with the mindset. Then you can get involved in programs like ours. You can get involved in fitness and health, but no program's really going to work until you get your mindset and everything under control. And that a lot of times just comes from the environment. Change your environment. So I love that we've created an environment. It's so cool that we get to do it online. I think that's awesome. I always say we've kind of created our own dojo, our own boxing gym, our own octagon, and like our whole system's revolving around our MMA because we have such a passion for it. And I think that it's, almost if it was a brick and mortar gym that you could walk into, guys, this is it. Our Ultimate Man Forum is our gym. It's where we're going to host all of our courses, all of our programs. It's literally, it's our place, man. I'm stoked about it, and I take a lot of pride in it. And we want to make sure we welcome 10 of the best guys into this place, and to really inspire us and work alongside as well. So anything you want to add to number 3 about building a support system, Coach?
Let's see. I just had a flash. This is something I was thinking about earlier. It just, I think about like the Mr. Olympia is always something I followed, like the bodybuilding shows. And it's kind of like, guys get together to, they train for months on end to compete in this Mr. Olympia type thing. That's kind of like, I see how our summer shred is. Like, we don't actually have like a physical location that people are going to go and do bodybuilding show and get on the stage and that type of thing. But it's still the same type of principle that like you have like a date set. Here's the date of the Mr. Olympia, or here's the date of the Mr. Ultimate Man in our case, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got 12 weeks to become the ultimate version of you. Okay. And then we're gonna put in the work. We're gonna come up with the system to get you there, nutritional workout program and everything. We're gonna follow you step by step. Take your pictures, take your measurements, get your body fat, watch the progress, help support you along that journey. And then you can see your pictures now versus how you look in 12 weeks. And then when you look in the mirror and you're strutting your stuff and you're starting to flex again in the mirror, saying like, damn, I'm looking good. It's a whole new game-changing world. So that building a support system is crucial.
Damn, man, that got me excited just listening to that. That's bad. So one of the things you mentioned there is we're going to keep them taking the daily actions that are going to be needed. And in number 4 in today's body dysmorphia talk, number 4 is about taking daily action. So those of you listening to this, start your day with positive affirmation and affirm your worth, your capabilities, your strengths that you see in front of the mirror. We've talked a lot about it today, but back when we were doing another episode, we talked about overcoming some of the doubt and things like that. And Coach Aaron, you said there's a bit of a mantra and an affirmation that you give yourself, and it's something I forget exactly what it was, but it was. Do you remember what it was? Something about like I'm worthy, or I forget what it was. Do you remember?
Oh, a couple of little, go-to sayings that I say to myself is, I've got this.
Yeah,
I've got this, and I believe in my ability to figure this out.
yeah.
And another big one is, how does this serve me? So
Mhm.
they're just little catchphrases that I use that just kind of like, if I'm in a negative mindset, it just kind of helps reframe my focus and to be like, so I can start to think about, okay, maybe I'm in a challenge. That's cool. Like, how does this situation actually serve me, and have that growth mindset to move me to the next evolutionary aspect of the better version of myself? So yeah, that was it. How does this serve me? I got this. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was the I got this, which was so simple but so powerful. And I remembered that I remembered you saying something. I just couldn't come up with the words on the spot because some of the stuff's in our notes that we're going to talk about today, and a lot of this is just Aaron and I having a good conversation, which is my favorite part of this whole podcasting thing is that we get to talk and share experiences and get to know each other better on the journey, which is part of number three, building support and having community. But talking about daily action, one of the things is to remind yourself that you do have it. You got this. You can do this. How does this serve me? How can I make something great out of this, even if it appears to be something negative? Look in the mirror. What don't you like? How could you fix it? Rather than sit there and bitch about it, what could you do to change it? I had a client who said, because I said, when you stand in front of the mirror, what do you see? And they said, I just kind of feel like, holy shit, I let it all go. I said, okay, well, what part of what you see bothers you the most, causes you the most pain? They said, it's my midsection, around the midsection. So how could you fix your midsection? They said, sit-ups. I said, okay, cool. How many sit-ups can you do? They said, probably like 15. I said, get down right now and give me 15. And if you can keep going, keep going. They're like, right now, on a virtual call. I'm like, yeah, right now. They got down, laid on the floor. I couldn't even see them. They got off the camera and kept going, right? I'm like, are you still going? And I could hear them breathing. And like, yeah. And I said, are you at 15 yet? And they're like, 17. I'm like, keep going, 18, keep going. And they got to like 20. And I was like, okay, you can stop. And they got up and I was like, how's it feel? And they're like, oh, dude, that felt awesome. I can't believe I got 20. I was like, well, you said you could only do 15. Like, yeah, but I surprised myself. I was like, that's it right there. So have you already made one step in the direction of fixing that problem you saw in the mirror? Like, yeah, actually, it feels like I can feel my stomach. I engage the muscles. I'm like, now, one set of sit-ups isn't going to solve the problem. But what if you did 20 of those every day and you kept working on it? And they were like, yeah, that's reasonable. I said, you know what else I did while you were doing that? I timed it. Like, really? I said, yeah, it took 1 minute and 13 seconds for you to do that. They're like, well, shit, that was pretty fast. I said, out of 24 hours, do you think you could find 1 minute and 13 seconds for yourself to fix that problem in the mirror? They were like, oh, dude, you start to feel the guilt of not doing it, right? Like,
Yeah.
holy shit, like a minute. And that was a minute that really made me feel good. And if I can keep doing that, and I look back in that mirror and I see my stomach looking better, holy shit, 1 minute of my time is worth it, right? And it's like $1 of your money, one more of anything is worth it. Put that in, make that, spend that $1 extra if that's what you need. Spend that 1 extra minute if that's what you need. Fix the problem. Don't look in the mirror and bitch about the problem. That's only going to make it worse. You're just going to live in that grave, right? What's the difference between a rut and a grave? Just the depth, the amount of time you kept digging, right? You notice the
Yeah.
rut, get the hell out. Get out of there. Don't keep digging. And that's what you do every time you get in the mirror and look at it. So taking daily action is to start causing the fix of the problem rather than staying stuck in it. What do you think, Coach?
Yeah, and just exactly like you said, it's like not a set of sit-ups is not going to fix the problem, but one set of sit-ups did just help change their mindset and make them realize that they took a step towards their goal in the right direction, and that they could do that every day. And
Mm-hmm.
it's doable. So that it's just so huge that if you're stuck in a rut, to just take that first step now and then take another step tomorrow and just start making that progress, and you won't feel like shit anymore.
Yeah, that's good. Love it. And you know what else I found was cool was I didn't tell them anything. I just suggested based on what they told me. So I said, look in the mirror. What's your problem? What's causing you the pain? They picked it. I said, what can you do to fix it? They picked it. I said, get down and do it. They picked it. They did it. They outperformed themselves. It was all because they chose to. You have to choose it, man. Guys, listening to this, Aaron and I can tell you everything you need to do, and you can listen to it all. But if it goes in one ear and out the other, you're not going to see any change. We got to get you in the environment that's going to help you make the change. You got to take the action. And we're here to make sure that in our training camp programs that we're going to be doing, you're going to be taking daily action. It's going to keep you moving. And if you can see the benefit of 1 minute of sit-ups changing this guy's life, how many more minutes could he put in? And I'm not saying you need to do 25 minutes of sit-ups a day, but I'm saying that they add up if you do a minute and a minute and a minute and do sets. And that's why we train. We're not just working out, we're training. We're causing it. We have an end goal and we're working towards achieving the end goal. If you're just going through lifting weights for the sake of doing something to say you did it, you're just working out and there's no end game there. So you're going to get bored of it and you're going to quit. Don't fall victim to that. Have a program, have a structure, a start time, a deadline, and all the trackable and measurables in between. And it's going to change everything that you feel about fitness and its sustainability. Because when the challenge is done, you can start another phase, another 12 weeks, and you can take your whole year and periodize it out just like that. We've already done that work for people. That's what the forum's all about. That's what our programs are all about. That's why we want to make it simple. So taking daily action, practicing mindful eating is another daily action we want to give our listeners today. So Coach Aaron, what's the most distracting thing you can think of while you're eating to be unmindful? What would you be distracted by the most?
I think the goes for the majority of people, probably just social media, just like, on their phone, looking at Instagram or Facebook and scrolling through reels and whatnot, and just like paying attention to something, anything else other than, stuffing food in their face. Like,
Yeah.
there's a real problem with that because you kind of just you lose that sensitivity with how you're feeling with your digestion. So if you have a big plate of food and you're scrolling, looking at other stuff, you're just eating, pretty soon you're full, but you don't even realize that you're full because you're too distracted with your attention somewhere else. So it's a recipe for just stuffing yourself. So if you could just give yourself a little bit of focused time, just put your phone away and don't do anything else other than freaking eat while you're eating, so you can pay attention to your body's cues as to when you're satisfied, when you're full, and stop when you're full.
Mm-hmm. That's it. The body has natural enzymes as well that need to actually help with the digestive process in your mouth, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't give them time to actually do anything because you're just scarfing it down. I have this analogy, and maybe this is just my mind, but you know me, analogies are the thing that really hit home to me. And I say to myself, if you watch someone sophisticated sitting and having dinner, how fast do they eat? Are they engaging in conversation with someone else? Most of the time, that is exactly it. They're eating slowly. And I'm going to use my highlighter here. Those of you watching the show right now, and it's very, take a bite and they chew and they listen while someone else is talking. They're very mindful of they're in the moment, right? And then when they're done, they put their fork down and they finish chewing, right? They don't keep it in their hand ready for the next one and the next one. They put it down and they chew and they listen. So what I'm saying is take the slow down and sophisticated approach, chew and be in the moment. When you're getting distracted by social media and you're, like Coach Aaron was saying, you're scrolling the phone and stuff, you're eating mindlessly. You're watching a movie and you get your hand in the popcorn bucket and it's one shovel after another. This is mindless eating. We're talking about being mindful. And so my analogy is picture a pig in a pen, in a slop bucket. That pig goes in there and all you hear is snorting and shit's flying everywhere. You know what I mean? They are gorging. Now, a lot of you eat that way. I know because I did it too. You got a spoon in the ice cream bucket, man, and it is just on autopilot, right? You're going at it. You can't get the next one down fast enough. You're eating like 10 other people are going to show up and steal your food. That's not the case, right? So slow down and be mindful, because if you eat like a pig, you're going to look like a pig. You're going to feel like a pig. That's my analogy that goes through my mind when I start to eat like that. And I say to myself, if I only have 5 or 10 minutes because of my time on the clock, I'm not doing my meal planning very well because I didn't leave myself a lot of time. But what I do is I choose a meal that corresponds the amount of time it might take that I have. So something like a protein shake or a supplement at that point, if I'm short duration, I don't have time to sit down and do a full mindful chew. I'm on the go. I'm busy. We talked about it in another episode where we talked about living on shakes and supplements because that's what our time schedule warranted, or people on the road type thing, right? We talked about this. But I think that it's really important to know that if you've set aside properly time to eat, give yourself 30 minutes to sit down and spend 20 minutes of that time chewing your food, you're gonna see a massive amount of change in your body, and also a much more enjoyable process of actually eating, where you can taste your food and connect with it. What do you think, Coach?
Yeah, and there's this saying, I'm not sure if I have it right, but it's like drink your solids and chew your liquids. Have you ever heard of something to that effect? It's basically like you want to be able to like drink your solid food. You want to be able to like chew it so thoroughly that it becomes like a liquid, like the solids, like chew it
Oh,
so thoroughly it becomes like a liquid. Because like you were saying, you have this protein amylase in your mouth that helps digest the carbohydrates. So you want to chew it and give it time to salivate and digest thoroughly before it even gets to your stomach. And then chew your liquid. So like if you have a protein shake or something, like don't just down your liquids, because that's just going straight down your esophagus right into your stomach. So like I'll take a protein drink, take a sip, and I'll like swish it around in my mouth and like kind of like chew your liquids, like mix it up in your mouth a little bit, and it really helps the digestion process. So you're also giving yourself that ability to slow down a little bit as you're doing the feeding process. So it gives a little bit more mindfulness to it as well, like that. And you're helping your digestion.
that's wicked. I learn something every time we podcast together, brother. I love it, man. You know what? Let's take a break right now with the Ultimate Man, and let's chew some liquid. We're going to take a cheers break here on the show.
Yeah, chew some liquid.
Let's chew some liquid. Cheers, brother. And cheers to all the
Cheers.
guys out there who are going to be joining us for Summer Shred this year. Let's do this.
Let's go. Let's get ripped and ready, dude. I'm excited.
Swish it around, chew it up. No, that's a really
Yep.
good, really good analogy. I love that. I've never heard it before, but it makes total sense. Chew the food so
Oh,
much that
good.
it's liquefied. That's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, because all those simple sugars and carbohydrates in there, if you just down right away, the majority of the digestion process of those carbohydrates via the amylase protein, if I think I'm correct in that, the amylase that digests the
Mhm.
carbohydrates happens in the mouth. So you need to start the process there.
That's badass. Super, super amazing. And again, just don't eat like a pig. Slow down. Take that sophisticated approach. That's what we're here to help you do. All right. And number 5, the last thing we want to talk about today, the very end of the podcast, is embrace the journey. The journey itself is what your ultimate goal is. What do you want to look like? What do you want to feel like? What do you want to see in the mirror? The reason you get body dysmorphia is you're not seeing what you like, but maybe it's because you're not liking, you're looking for the wrong things, and you're not going by feelings. You're not taking the time to do the things we talked about today. So you want to cultivate your growth mindset first. The fact that you're in a good state before you see it. View setbacks as opportunities. We've talked about flipping the script, right? So if you had what you see as a loss, frame it as a learning experience. These are things you can start to do to feel better about yourself in every area of your day. And then when you go to look in the mirror, you feel better. Coach Aaron started his day today with a badass workout. He messaged me. He's like, "We're gonna get on the podcast. I just got finished my workout, going home to eat and clean up, and I'm feeling good, feeling pumped, right?" And that's because he started with a badass workout, and they changed the state of lethargy, waking up in the morning with no ambition, and at a state of rest and relaxation, and you haven't really released any of the hormones and chemicals to get fired up. So your workout's obviously one of those things you can do to flip the switch and go from one rested state to a very, very pumped up state. And now when you get on the podcast, you're full of energy, you're feeling good, and you got a ton of great information for people. But if you were in a slump state, you wouldn't be anywhere near what you are today, sitting here with us right now, right? Your performance is based on what you did to frame the entire experience based on the mindset you were in before you came to the experience. So I think about that, and when I think about analogies, it's literally the mood you're in determines how you're going to perceive an experience in general. And I talked about this with a client the other day. I said, if all I had was this pen to offer you, how would you feel about it? And if you're in a state before I offer this to you, that'll determine how you feel about this offer. You might say, if you're in a bad mood, you might say, "I don't need your fucking pen. What's that going to do me? I don't need a pen. I need money. I need cars. I need, whatever. Your stupid pen, get out of here. I don't need that." If you're in a good mood, you might say, "Dude, that's a wicked pen. I don't have that pen. And yeah, I appreciate that, man. Thanks for thinking of me. In fact, you know what? I might even be able to use that on my podcast today to take some notes." See, the framing was all based on my mood. It had nothing to do with me or this pen or my offer. It was how you perceived it because of the bitchy mood you were in or the actual great state you were in. And a lot of people aren't dicks. They're just in bad emotional states. And then they come across as an absolute dick. And it's like, dude, what's wrong? So when people cross you the wrong way, sometimes question, what are they going through? Maybe there's something else they're going through, right? And if they could fix that and change their state, the experience of talking to them will be completely different. And like I say, Coach Aaron and I try to get on here and be our most energetic and most positive selves every episode. But that takes some of our daily practices to make it happen because we all have our bad days too. I could have looked in the mirror before this episode on body dysmorphia, looked at those love handles and went, dude, I wish they were better. I know summer shred's coming, but it's not soon enough, you know, and we're going to get on here and talk about body dysmorphia. I feel like such a fake. I hate the way I look. That could have been my damn approach and it would have been no value to anybody. Right. So I think embracing the journey, understanding there's a lot of elements to it that put you in a frame, a state of mind, can really determine the outcome. So, Coach Aaron, how do you feel about my pen?
I love the pen, dude. What a great podcast prop.
Right? It's framework, man. It literally is. And so, guys out there, don't be a dick. People are being nice to you. Don't shoot it down because you're in a bad mood. Try to see what's in it for me. And Coach, you had one of those things saying, how does this serve me? One of your things that you actually say to yourself. How does this serve me? How can I take from this in a good way? How can I grow from this? I love that. That's such a great affirmation because then when I go, you know, I got this pen, I'm offering you this pen. You're actually saying to yourself, how does this serve me? Could I take that pen and do something great with it? Could that be valuable to me? Rather than if you didn't have that affirmation in your life, you may allow negativity to override you and tell me to take my pen and stick it, you know, right?
Yeah.
I think it's another analogy that really makes sense on such a simple level, but you understand it because you go to watch a movie with expectation of it being amazing and it doesn't meet your expectation. What happens? You walk out of there going, don't ever watch that movie. I'm going to tweet about it right now. Worst movie ever. Maybe it wasn't the worst movie, but you went in with such an expectation of what it was supposed to be that you set yourself up for failure. Now you go look in the mirror and you're expecting Sam Sulek, and who shows up? Not Sam Sulek. And you're like, well, and again, Sam Sulek, if you're watching our podcast, we love you, brother. You know, we've used you a lot today because that's one of the social media influencers out there. But we're talking about, you know, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? And embracing the journey is to not set such a high expectation that you're going to get in there tomorrow after one workout or after one healthy meal and see this massive change. But we did talk about measurements and photos, things that give evidence and make it real, not false evidence. So flip the script is one of them. I think exercise is the first action you can take to embrace the journey and start the journey out right. Get good exercise. Adequate sleep's another one. So we talked about sleep before, but the problem with most people is they're sleeping and they're sleeping not long enough because they're going to bed too late or they're getting up, you know, too late or whatever. And they're not getting good quality sleep either. Have you noticed in your hormone balance, Coach, and your performance in the gym and the way that you see yourself in the mirror, is it any different based on your sleep? Like the way you perform, the way you look at yourself?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I got one of those, it's called an Aura ring. Some of you guys have maybe seen it before. It tracks like your deep sleep, your REM sleep, and your body temperature and all these different metrics so you can really start to optimize your sleep. So I did that for a long time, for years, because my sleep was just absolute shit for a while. I was going to bed too late, not sleeping enough. And it screws with everything. Like we've talked about this and like I said, other episodes before, it screws with your hormone levels. You increase your leptin levels, which make you hungry the next day. So if you don't sleep enough, your appetite's going to be out of control. I know you guys have experienced that where you just don't get enough sleep and then you just like start ravaging food the next day. So like there's the appetite component, there's the hormonal response component of just, not increasing your testosterone and your growth hormone levels is when that repair process happens overnight. So the melatonin, there's so many factors that go into your optimal performance that if you're not getting enough sleep, you're just setting yourself way back.
Mm-hmm. Huge. I think the sleep's one of the major causes for the testosterone levels we're seeing. A lot of guys out there are at the lowest they've ever been. If you haven't been tested for testosterone levels, you can get that test done. And it's not really extremely expensive, I don't believe either, depending where you are, I guess. But you can get your testosterone tested. and well worth it to do, because I think that with processed foods and lifestyle of most American, people today, the standard American diet, the SAD diet, it's showing that people are dropping testosterone levels like crazy, and we need to help people get that back on track.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and he mentioned a stat. I'm not sure if I'll get the stat exactly right, but this was kind of the gist of it. He said that even guys in their 18-year-old guys now have like 50% of the testosterone level that they used to have back in like the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So like even young guys that are supposed to be like just boosting with testosterone now are still low because of all the freaking, just the bad diet, the medications, all the stress and all the crap going on. So
Yeah.
yeah, you should definitely get yourself tested if you
Mm-hmm.
haven't already.
Perfect. That's really good. So that's our 5 points on body dysmorphia, as far as the structure of identifying it, breaking the cycle, getting around a great community of individuals, taking action daily and consistently to see a better version of yourself, and then embracing that journey that you've now started to take. And that's your training camp, it's your program, you're putting it all together, and then not setting up an expectation when you look in the mirror or you scroll your social media. Here's my tip. You want to get a tip that's going to fix your confidence real fast? Stop following the people who trigger you. Simple enough, right? If I open my
Yeah.
phone right now and I see three guys who are way better shape than me, they just look like they're younger, they're healthier, they're more handsome, whatever it is, right? They got more money, they got cars in the background that I don't have, whatever. All those feelings of I don't have, but they do, just bring me down. Stop following that guy. Get off that site. Get off. You don't have to follow those people, right? If that's triggering you and leading you down a spiral of feeling guilt and depression, and like a sense of not having enough, then stop following them. Unless they're teaching you how to get what they have, you know what I mean? Then that's great. We talked about get in a room where the people could bring you up. That's great. But if they're just there to showcase their highlight reel and you're watching it and falling victim to the fact that they took 300 pictures to get the one you're looking at, right? They didn't show you the other 299 that weren't of any value. They were terrible, right? They're going to show you the one perfect picture, and that's what you're going to see. And I just want to leave this thought out there. Ed Milet, or however you say the last name, Milet, on his
Yeah.
podcast, was talking about an experience regarding body dysmorphia, but not in a sense of body, but just image that people create. And he said him and his wife were out for dinner the other night at a nice restaurant, and there was a family who had come in, obviously in a really bad state. They sat down at the table. The kids were fighting and bickering. And then the dad said something to one of the kids, and the kid started to get emotional. And the mom then got mad at the dad, right? And because don't talk to him like that. And it was, you could literally see, everyone in the restaurant could see that they were having this altercation at the table. And then the waiter comes over to take their order. And the mom whips out a camera and she says, "Can you take a picture of us?" And the waiter goes, "Yeah, yeah, sure." And he goes, "Take a picture." Everybody smile, arms around each other. And everybody got in a little circle, a little huddle, put on the fake smile, take the picture. And guess what? That's what's going to get put on their social media. What a wonderful
Yeah.
dinner we had with the family last night. It was so beautiful. The experience was so wonderful. Yet none of that is true. What was actually true was they were fighting, they were bickering, they were having a terrible experience. But the moment they captured is what they're going to show on social media. Now you look at that and go, "I wish my family was like that." You see the picture, right? You see the picture and go, I wish I could go out for dinner with my family and everybody had such a nice time. The kids were wonderful, right? And you start to live an unexpected expectation, like you're living up to someone else's highlight reel. It's never going to work, right? You got to realize that those moments captured for a lot of people aren't even who they really are. That's not really the moment they're in. Half of that shit is either rented or leased for the sake of a video they shot or an Instagram picture they wanted to post. There's a lot of fake bullshit. So stop with believing what you see on social media and start living inside your own body and live in a real situation, a real environment that allows you to thrive and feel better about your progress. Enjoy the journey, because I think that's most important. I talked about the lottery earlier. People who win the lottery and don't really earn it along the way, they never grow. It's not about the program, or it's not about the 12 weeks or anything. It's about who you become during that time that really is going to be your takeaway. And if you become a better person during the time you spend on this earth, I mean, it's just the best outcome you can possibly get. Every day, 1% better, one more rep, one more. I love it, man. I love the energy that comes from that mindset. What do you think, Coach?
Yeah. I want to, flash back to something that happened the other day. And I just want to kind of reiterate to the guys out there that it's not all about the highlight reel. And some of us have some really hard days. And I just wanted to give a big shout out to Coach Lawrence because I was having a super hard day last week. And I let him know, and I'm like, "Oh, bro, I'm having a hard time." I'm like, "I don't even know if I can do the podcast today. I'm just not feeling. I'm having some things going on in my life." And I was kind of a little bit vulnerable, but I think that's one of the cool things about our program too, is it's just like, it's not about, just us guys trying to pump each other and stuff. It's about being real and like coming to each other with our problems, and being real with one another and being like, "Oh man, I'm having this fucking issue with whatever it is, whether
Yeah.
it's your training, your relationships or whatever," and being like, but then I put that out there to Coach Lawrence, and he gave me some tips and helped me change my mindset around it a little bit. And it was a game changer. Like, within another, few hours or that day, I was like already feeling better. So it takes that brother support sometimes just to kind of snap you out of the funk. So I just wanted to give you a big shout out for being helpful to me the other day.
That makes me feel good, man. I appreciate that. I love that you obviously trust me enough to share your experiences, and also that I was able to not only, have a conversation with you that changed your mindset and your framework that you were kind of seeing the lens through at that point, but we were also able to film probably one of our best segments for podcasting at that, like within the next couple of minutes after that conversation. You were in such a great place just mentally after that. We had such a groove going. And so even on your worst day, you can have your best day. That's one of my favorite sayings that I've kind of coined the phrase over time. Was I saw it with clients who come in and I go, "How you feeling today?" Right? First thing you see when you see a client come into the room, "How you feeling today?" "Oh, like Eeyore the donkey there on Winnie the Pooh, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's another day. Another, oh, so and so did this." Like, it's like, you want to bring me down? That's not going to happen. This is what I do for a living, right? Like, let's go. And I go, "Okay, cool. Come on." And I go make them do stuff. We'll get in a different state. We'll go and start moving around, get them moving, and the endorphin release and everything. Next thing you know, the conversation's getting better. So it just usually takes action. And sometimes the action is in conversation. Other times it's physical action. But yeah, man, I appreciate the shout out for, last week as we talked about it. But it also lets our listeners know, like you said, that we're very real, man. And we're not editing in the way of trying to highlight and make a glorious podcast highlight reel where we look like we've polished it all for you. This is very real. If there's been a glitch in the audio today because the internet kicked in and out, that's real. It's going to happen. And it probably happened today once or twice. But we don't want to bring you poor quality information. That's what really is mattering here. We want to bring you the best information we can. And that's based on our experiences. And our experiences have led to where we are. 40 plus years old, in the best shape of our lives, feeling really great despite injuries, despite mental health issues that we've both had to deal with. Guys, we've been there. We've been there. We've done it. We're now ready to take the next steps in teaching you how to do it. That's amazing. But we also put ourselves in the rooms of other great leaders so that we can up our game too. And I think that's really important to know that you're not just working with us, you're working with all the greats who've taught us. And it's just amazing how you can pass that down. And you said it earlier, Coach, giving back by teaching it as well. So super cool. Today's episode's been amazing. It's been brought to you by the Ultimate Man Summer Shred Program, 12-week training camp that's coming soon. Any final closing thoughts, Coach?
Hey, be sure, gentlemen, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Spotify. Push the like button. It takes about 2 seconds. We got a bro handshake deal right here. If you're watching this, you gotta push the like button. It's a non-negotiable, basically. You just do it. You push like, you leave us a little comment what you liked about the podcast here, what you'd like to see in future episodes, what would you like to, for us to talk about. We take the questions and the topics from the guys on our Ultimate Man forum, and we discuss those first on our podcast here. So get into the Ultimate Man forum. We'll leave a link for that in the show notes. Okay. Just a little link, you click it, enter your information. It's going to shoot you an email with access to the Ultimate Man forum. It's going to give you a little introductory video about how it all works and all that good stuff. Jump in there for the win, and I hope to see you on the inside.
Nice. So again, today's episode was based on body dysmorphia, and I want you to leave with this one thought. Comparison is the thief of joy. If you want to be happy, you got to stop comparing to all the other shit out there and start setting yourself up for success. Take action. And on that note, brother, let's take action. Bring it in.
Yeah.